On today's episode of Time About the Movies, we wrap up the month of May 2011 with a pair of sequels, including the sequel to the big breakout comedy hit of 2009, The Hangover Part 2, and the big breakout comedy hit of 2008 with Kung Fu Panda 2. And then we have what some might say some pretentious garbage with Terrence Malick's latest film with Brad Pitt and Jessica Chastain, and that is The Tree of Life. What do I think? Well, I guess you're going to have to tune in and find out. This is Time About the Movies for May 26, 2011.
Hangover Part 2, rated R, starts May 26th.
Gee, this looks all so familiar. Welcome to Time About the Movies, everybody, and today we are taking a look at the three films of May 26, 2011, and we begin, of course, with the biggest new release of the weekend, and that is the much-anticipated The Hangover Part 2. It's now 2 years after the infamous bachelor party in Las Vegas, and Phil, Bradley Cooper, Stu, Ed Helms, Alan, Zach Galifianakis, and Doug, Justin Bartha, jet to Thailand for Stu's wedding. Stu's plan for a subdued pre-wedding brunch, however, goes seriously awry, which leads to the Wolfpack in Bangkok. And yeah, let's just get the elephant out of the room right away. You know how almost all comedy sequels, for the most part, for a long period of time, were just retreads of the previous movie and didn't even try to do anything new or unique with it? Instead of just taking them back to a new location, dumbing them back down to where they were at the beginning of the first movie. Yeah. Prime example of that right here. Literally every single thing that happened in the first movie is repeated here, except with some differences, except the fact that it's not longer in Las Vegas, it's in Thailand, and it's not just Doug going away is getting missing from the group. It's now the brother of one of the two is of Stu's new wife, and because now in Bangkok anything can happen now, and just like in the first movie, the old saying, what happened in Vegas stays in Vegas. Well, now we can't say that in this movie, but yeah, literally everything that happens in the first film is in this movie again. And to its credit, it's not bad, but when you say you're going to do a sequel to one of the biggest comedy hits of all time, I would like to think that you would try at least to do something different with it instead of just rehashing the same goddamn movie. I mean, Home Alone 2 is very much the same movie as the first film, except this time it's not just in his home, he's now in New York City. It's literally the same plot. The people who made the movie even knew it was literally the same film, but you know what? They still put effort into it. There's still more stuff in there that I enjoyed about that movie that I still like from the first movie. I mean, yeah, it's a been there, done that sequel, but it's a been there, done that sequel done the right way. This is literally just taking the first movie, taking out all the elements from Las Vegas, and putting it into Thailand, and having bigger names attached to it, because of course in the original movie you had was Paul Giamatti was in the first one, if I'm not mistaken, right? You're going to see me doing my research right now, because I could have sworn that was him in there. I know this is all dead air and all that, but I could have sworn he was in the first one. Maybe he was in the second one. Yeah, he is in the second one. I couldn't remember, because I thought in the first one they had he was in there as kind of the similar character that he is in this movie here. He's basically playing a guy who's an undercover Interpol agent who screws around with him pretty much, basically, because they think that they know where these people that are kidnapped are at. And it's interesting because there's so many things in this particular movie that just they up the ante on it. We have to have Mike Tyson back because he was one of the big breakout things in the last movie. We gotta have Ken Jeong back in here for no particular reason, just because he was such a fan favorite character. And here's the one that I thought was actually kind of interesting here, is that Nick Cassavetes plays this Bangkok tattoo artist, and they had several people originally intended to be in that role, like Liam Neeson was initially cast in that role. This was just him coming off of the first Taken movie, and then originally they were envisioning Mel Gibson. Bill Clinton almost had a role in this movie, and they cut it out of the film. Like, they were adding some big names to this movie, and you could just tell that they were just going strictly for the bigger, going big or go home, instead of actually working on a script that actually merits making this sequel possible. And it just doesn't work overall. There's still some funny moments in the film, even though they are basically just retreads of the first film. I mean, the gross-out jokes can be funny at times, but Jackass at least has a masterful craft when it comes to their gross-out humor, where you're laughing so hard that you're falling out of your seat, or even makes you want to legitimately puke. And in this case, it's definitely not that movie. I guess to its credit, it's better than Todd Phillips' last movie, Due Date, which was a terrible retread of Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. But even with this, like, it's just not as fun as the original film. It's not as bad as you would think it would be, but it's just not as good as it could have been either. It's just literally a film. They took the first movie, took out all the Vegas aspects, put it in Bangkok, literally did nothing different with the original script, right down to where the people they find eventually end up. Like, it's literally a retread of the previous film. And trust me when I tell you this, be grateful for this one, because the third film tries to do something different with it, and yeah, but and not only that, like, they try to do something different with it, but they take it to an extreme level of ridiculousness. The Hangover Part 3 is easily the worst one of this series. I mean, Part 2 is not that great compared to the first movie, but it beats the crap out of Part 3. Wait until we get to Part 3, because holy mother of God, that movie is terrible, and that will come out 2 years from now, because of course it's going to do that. But we'll talk about that when we get across that pathway to 2013. But as it is, The Hangover Part 2, not a bad movie, but certainly not as good as it could have been. It's just basically a retread of the first film. It's not that great, so. But most people went to go see that movie. They made it a massive hit. And meanwhile, the next movie, which was the far superior sequel, got pushed off to the side. And people immediately regretted that decision when they finally got a chance to see Kung Fu Panda 2.
DreamWorks Kung Fu Panda 2, rated PG.
Though, to be perfectly honest, that marketing campaign probably didn't help to sell the film in general, and the film underperformed. I mean, it didn't do bad business overall. It still made its money back, especially with worldwide audiences. But considering that you had a movie that is a sequel to a very popular film, they were expecting something on the levels of Shrek 2, and unfortunately, the box office wasn't as strong as it could have been. But at least it was good enough to get 2 more sequels out of it. We still got Kung Fu Panda 3, we still got Kung Fu Panda 4, and honestly, we should be grateful for that, because Kung Fu Panda 2 not only is a great animated DreamWorks sequel, it's probably one of my favorite sequels of all time. And, I mean, you can see why when you see the film itself. In the sequel, you have Po, back as voiced by Jack Black, who joined forces with the Furious Five and a group of new Kung Fu masters to take on an old enemy, a peacock voiced by Gary Oldman with a deadly new weapon that could mean the end of Kung Fu. And this is a year where, like I said, there was not a lot of great films overall, but, you know, for every you have all these really bad films, but then you get something like a Rango, or a Source Code, or a Limitless, or a Midnight in Paris, or, you know, and this film in particular definitely is one of those films that's very high up on the best movies of the year, and it really is a damn good movie that's somehow even better than the original film. And like I said, this is a movie that takes the story elements from the previous film and doesn't just do a retread of the first film. This is the film that The Hangover 2 should have been. They up the ante. They give you more of a backstory, not just on Po, but also on other people as well. Like, you see a friendship beginning to form with Po and Tigress that does continue on into the third movie, and I like that. I like that camaraderie between them, like they're kind of brother and sister, and it's not like a romantic relationship or anything like that. And I like the fact that they did that way. And it allowed the element. I like that they expanded the characters in here. They gave these characters depth. We got a big backstory about Poe's family and how he essentially came into the custody of his foster parent. What do you call? What is he? He's voiced by it's not a peacock either, is he? No, it can't be. Peking duck. Chinese goose. I was close. Chinese goose. But you see what happened that led him to basically adopt Po, and it does. And even the movie ends with a teaser for what the third film would eventually become: Po meeting his birth family. And I really like the way they elevate the story here. Everything about this movie really does keep building and building, and it never feels like it's stepping over its boundaries too much. It keeps the spirit of the original film, but at the same time, it does try to do something new with it. I like the way they talk about how Poe became the son of a goose noodle maker and how they explain what happened to his parents, as I said before. It's nice to see these characters back on screen again and seeing that they can get some good emotional impacts too. And, when I first saw the movie, I thought the main villain, Lord Chang, was kind of a little too over the top. I mean, Tai Lung I thought was a badass villain in the first film, but watching the movie again since then, I've come to realize that Lord Chang in the movie is probably a much more badass antagonist than Tai Lung. Even though Tai Lung was really great in the first film, Gary Oldman just makes that performance work so well. He's threatening, he's menacing, but he can also have some really good funny lines throughout the course of the film. I mean, he's the perfect type of villain for this movie. And, it is a film that legitimately does get an emotional impact out of you, especially when you see Poe's backstory and all that. It also has a nice mix of, the CG animation from DreamWorks and also 2D animation blended in there nicely, especially with his origin story, Poe's origin story, and I think it's done very well. The climax is fantastic. You not only have all of the Furious Five and all these new Kung Fu masters coming together to take down the villain, but the way Poe defeats the villain, I mean, it's a moment. It's one of the best animated moments I've ever seen. Like Poe, taking all these things of the weapon that the villain is using and using it against him. It's just such a really cool, fun climax and just some gorgeous animation in this. This is one of the best sequels I've ever seen. I mean, this is the movie that should have done a hell of a lot better than the big sequel that made more money in The Hangover 2. But this movie definitely is the far superior sequel, easily. What more do I gotta say, man? Kung Fu Panda 2 is a winner on so many levels. It's definitely one of DreamWorks' best sequels. One of DreamWorks' best franchises overall. All four of these movies are really good. Even the fourth one, which is not as strong as the previous three films, but I like to think of it as the Toy Story 4 of the series. Not as good as the previous films, but still more than worthy enough to say that it's definitely worth it to see it. I still like the fourth one a lot. And Kung Fu Panda 2 definitely is probably my favorite one of the entire series, easily. This is the one I can go back to so many times, and I never get tired of it. It's a great sequel, one of the best animated sequels ever, one of the best animated films I've ever seen. Kung Fu Panda 2, what more can I say? Excellent, excellent stuff. So, with all that said, let's go ahead and move on to... I was about to wrap the show up, and then I forgot I had one more movie to look at. Let's wrap it up by taking a look at Terrence Malick's latest film with Brad Pitt and Jessica Chastain, and that is, of course, The Tree of Life.
The Tree of Life, PG-13.
Ah, yes, the good old days of downloading a movie on iTunes. God, it feels like 2011 was a long time ago, and it was only 14 years. I mean, it doesn't feel like it should be that long ago, but Jesus Christ. But the Tree of Life. This is Terrence Malick in his first film since The Thin Red Line in 1998, and it chronicles the origins and meaning of life by way of a middle-aged man's childhood memories of his family living in 1950s Texas, interspersed with imagery of the origins of the universe and the inception of life on Earth. And, Terrence Malick, his movies are very... actually, I lied to you, because this is not the first film he did since The Thin Red Line. I forgot about The New World, which wasn't bad, but wasn't great either. But certainly this movie is probably the last great thing he directed, because every film after that got more and more pretentious, got more and more, stuck up, is made for the stuck-up critics and all that. It's just like, oh, you charlatans, you just don't get the beauty of Terrence Malick's work. And no, those movies are extremely pretentious and really stupid. But this I feel like is one of those last great films he made, because this is a film that it does take time for you to really realize what this movie really is about and what the movie really is trying to show you. And it's Terrence Malick not dumbing himself down to his audience like he would do later on. Brad Pitt, Jessica Chastain, and Ty Sheridan all give some very solid performances in here. Sean Penn is really good in the movie, too. The visual look of the movie is impressive, and you do get invested in the story overall. You can see why this movie had such a lasting impact, to the point where it did get 3 Oscar nominations for Best Picture, Best Director, and Best Cinematography, and some people have called it one of the best films of the decade so far, is of the 21st century so far. It's a really solid movie. It's a movie that is intriguing and entertaining to look at, and it doesn't feel like it's dumbing you down or making you seem like you're stupid for not understanding what's going on here. It's a very good film. It's a very good, well-made film. Definitely the last great thing Terrence Malick, I think, has ever directed, because the rest of his movies that came after this are just schlocky, pretentious junk that we're going to get to, especially in the next year with his first film, To the Wonder. But hey, At least he gave us a good one with the Tree of Life, so you gotta give him credit for that. And thus, with all that said, we wrap up another edition of Time About the Movies, and the next time we meet, we take a look at 2 films to start the month of June off. Films that were highly praised when they came out, but I'm not the biggest fan of either one of them. Especially the first film we have here. Matthew Vaughn, following up the year before with Kick-Ass, helps to reignite the X-Men for a new generation, with James McAvoy, Michael Fassbender, and Jennifer Lawrence among the cast in X-Men First Class, a movie that everybody seems to like, and yet I'm not really that big of a fan of. I'll talk more about that tomorrow. But also we have Beginners with Ewan McGregor and Christopher Plummer getting his first Academy Award for this particular performance, which, I mean, Christopher Plummer is definitely an actor that deserves an Academy Award, but it's one of those performances where it's just like, yeah, kind of wish you'd won it for a better movie than whatever the hell this thing was. But I just know I'm going to get a lot of flack for these 2 reviews I'm going to do tomorrow, so hopefully you'll join me for that. We'll have some good times, and with all that said, thank you so much for watching this. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, please do me the honor of going to the like button and hitting that. Hit the subscribe button, hit the notification button, also so you get updates on when new videos come out. We also do have a playlist over here in the corner, and also our episode from the last time is right there. I have no idea why the hell I decided to say it differently this time around, but it is what it is. So whether it's in the past, the present, or the future, I will see you at the movies. So thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Take care.